For privacy reasons, names and places have been changed. This story is inspired by true events.
On a summer afternoon in 1995, 8-year-old Marisol Green and her twin sister left their family's picnic at Pine Creek Gorge, PA, chasing a chipmunk towards the Barber Rock Overlook's rim path. They never reappeared. Despite an extensive investigation that mobilized park rangers, state police, and hundreds of volunteers, Marisol and her sister vanished without a trace into the vast Pennsylvania wilderness. For 21 agonizing years, the Green family lived with an unbearable, constant uncertainty, their hopes slowly eroding into a quiet despair. Then, in 2016, a discovery was made beneath a remote blowdome. A rusted lunchbox containing a single, cracked Polaroid photograph. This is the complete investigation into what happened to Marisol Green and her twin sister, and the disturbing truth finally unearthed after decades of silence. Before we continue, let us know where you're watching from, and if you enjoy this content, consider liking and subscribing to our channel. Now let's continue. In the summer of 1995, the tranquil beauty of Pine Creek Gorge, Pennsylvania, offered a deceptive serenity. Known as the Grand Canyon of Pennsylvania, its vast, forested expanse and the dramatic vistas from overlooks like Barber Rock drew countless visitors seeking solace and recreation. On a warm July afternoon, this natural splendor became the backdrop for an event that would shatter a family and confound investigators for decades. The Green family had chosen Barber Rock for their annual picnic, a cherished tradition filled with laughter and the simple joys of a summer day. 8-year-old Marisol Green and her identical twin sister, vibrant and full of an uncontainable energy typical of their age, explored the edges of their parents' watchful gaze. Their voices, light and carefree, mingled with the rustling leaves and distant calls of birds. They were indistinguishable in their matching denim shorts and brightly colored t-shirts, a detail that would later prove both poignant and frustrating. The fateful moment arrived with an innocuous distraction. A small, quick chipmunk darted across the rocky ground near their picnic blanket. With the spontaneous delight of children, the twins giggled and, without a second thought, began to chase the tiny creature. Their pursuit led them away from the immediate safety of their family, following the chipmunk's erratic path towards the well-worn rim trail, a narrow ribbon of earth winding perilously close to the gorge's precipitous edge. Their parents, momentarily engrossed in conversation, assumed the girls were still within sight, playing nearby. Minutes stretched into a silence that felt increasingly heavy. The chipmunk had vanished, and so had the twins. A casual call, "Girls, Marisol," quickly escalated into a frantic, desperate shout. The parents rose, scanning the immediate area, their smiles dissolving into lines of growing concern. Panic, cold and sharp, began to set in as their cries echoed unanswered across the vast, indifferent landscape. The family fanned out, their voices hoarse, calling out names that were now met only with the murmur of the wind. Every rock, every bush, every turn of the path was searched with mounting terror. The dawning realization struck with devastating force. Marisol and her sister were truly gone. The urgent, trembling call to local authorities marked the official beginning of an unimaginable nightmare. A profound void left in the heart of a family, and the silent, imposing expanse of Pine Creek Gorge. The urgent call for help from the Green family swiftly mobilized a multi-agency response to Pine Creek Gorge. Park rangers, intimately familiar with the challenging terrain, were the first to arrive, quickly followed by units from the local sheriff's department and state police. Among the initial responders was Deputy Leela Forsyth, a seasoned officer whose calm demeanor belied a sharp, investigative mind. She immediately took in the distraught parents, the vast, unforgiving landscape, and the chilling silence where children's laughter had been moments before. A massive search and rescue operation was immediately launched. Hundreds of volunteers, local law enforcement, and specialized search teams converged on Barber Rock Overlook. K-9 units, their keen senses tracking the faintest traces, scoured the dense undergrowth and rocky outcrops. Helicopters with thermal imaging equipment crisscrossed the gorge, their powerful beams cutting through the deepening twilight. Every inch of the rim path, every ravine, every potential hiding spot within a 5-mile radius was meticulously examined. The sheer scale of the effort reflected the gravity of the situation, a desperate race against time in a wilderness that could conceal secrets indefinitely. Initial theories emerged almost immediately. Had the twins, in their innocent chase, ventured too close to the precipice and fallen into the gorge? Was it possible they had simply become disoriented and lost in the vast, confusing wilderness? Or a far more sinister prospect, had they been abducted, snatched from a public park in broad daylight? Each theory was explored with equal urgency, but without a single piece of tangible evidence, investigators found themselves without direction. The baffling absence of clues became the defining characteristic of the early investigation. There were no footprints inconsistent with the family's own, no scraps of clothing, no signs of a struggle near the rim path. No witnesses had seen anything suspicious, no vehicle speeding away, no stranger lingering. It was as if Marisol Green and her twin sister had simply dissolved into the air, leaving behind only the echo of their parents' frantic calls. This void of information created an agonizing vacuum for the Green family, who made tearful public appeals, their faces etched with a grief that resonated across the nation. Yet despite the exhaustive efforts, the tips that poured in led to dead ends, and the search teams, after days of relentless effort, found nothing. The investigation, lacking any concrete leads, slowly began to lose momentum, leaving a heartbroken family and frustrated investigators with an open case that offered no answers. As the initial, desperate search for Marisol Green and her twin sister yielded nothing, the relentless passage of time began its inexorable work. Days bled into weeks, weeks into agonizing months, and then, inexorably, into years. The raw, immediate grief of the Green family slowly calcified into a profound, enduring sorrow. Every birthday, every holiday, every school event served as a stark, painful reminder of the two vibrant lives that had been so abruptly extinguished from their world. There was no funeral, no grave to visit, only an unbearable void and the torment of not knowing. The phantom presence of their missing daughters haunted their waking hours and invaded their dreams, a constant, unanswerable question echoing in the silent rooms of their home. For law enforcement, the once active investigation gradually transitioned into a cold case. The voluminous files, once handled with urgent intensity, were archived, their contents documenting a tragedy without resolution. Reports of fruitless searches, witness statements leading nowhere, and forensic analyses that revealed nothing conclusive were all meticulously stored, gathering dust in an evidence locker. Deputy Leela Forsyth, who had been on the ground during those frantic first hours, carried the weight of the unsolved case with her, a constant reminder of the children who had simply vanished. Pine Creek Gorge, a place of natural grandeur, became tinged with the shadow of the vanished twins. The local community never truly forgot the incident. It became a whispered legend, a cautionary tale, a persistent mystery that marred the region's otherwise serene reputation. The silence surrounding the disappearance was not peaceful. It was heavy, laden with unanswered questions and the frustration of investigators who, despite their dedication, had no new information to pursue. The initial hope for a swift resolution had long since faded, replaced by a grim acceptance of the unknown. 2 decades passed in this agonizing stasis. 21 years since the bright summer day in 1995, when Marisol and her sister chased a chipmunk towards the rim path and were never seen again. The world had changed dramatically in those years, but for the Green family, time had frozen at that fateful moment. Hope, once a flickering ember, had all but extinguished, leaving behind only the lingering despair of an enduring mystery. The cold case file, tucked away in its cabinet, seemed destined to remain closed, another unsolved enigma lost to the annals of history, until a most improbable discovery would shatter the long silence. 21 years had passed since the Green twins vanished, and Pine Creek Gorge, though scarred by memory, continued its cycles of natural renewal. Fall of 2016 brought with it the usual crisp air and vibrant foliage, drawing hikers to its trails. On a remote, less traveled path near the Barber Rock Overlook, where the search for the girls had been most intense decades prior, a significant storm from the previous winter had left its mark. A massive white pine, weakened by age and high winds, had toppled, creating a dense blowdom, a tangled mass of trunk and branches that now lay partially hidden by new undergrowth. It was during a solo excursion that a local hiker, navigating around the fallen behemoth, noticed an anomaly beneath its root ball. Partially buried in the damp earth, obscured by decaying leaves and pine needles, lay a small, rusted metal lunchbox. Its once vibrant paint was long gone, eaten away by time and moisture, leaving only the corroded skeleton of what had once been a common childhood item. Curiosity, a natural human impulse, compelled the hiker to dislodge it from its resting place. The latch, seized by rust, gave way with a protesting creak, revealing a dark, damp interior. Inside, nestled amidst a thin layer of sediment, was a single, cracked Polaroid photograph. The image was faded and marred by the passage of time and the elements, but its contents were still disturbingly clear. It depicted a section of what appeared to be a crudely hand-drawn mural, rendered in primary colors, perhaps on an interior wall. The style suggested a child's hand, or perhaps an attempt to appeal to one. More unsettling was a specific detail in the foreground, a human wrist, clearly visible, secured with what looked like thick, dark adhesive tape. The skin around the tape appeared taut, suggesting restraint or an attempt to conceal an injury. The hiker, momentarily stunned, recognized the profound implications of such a discovery in this specific location. The date of the disappearance, the age of the item, the disturbing image, it all pointed to one terrifying conclusion. The rusted lunchbox and its cryptic contents were immediately reported to local authorities. The long-dormant case of Marisol Green and her twin sister, a cold file gathering dust for over 2 decades, was abruptly and dramatically reopened. The cracked Polaroid, a silent messenger from a forgotten past, now represented the first tangible lead in an investigation that had yielded nothing but heartbreak and frustration for 21 years. It was a fragile, enigmatic artifact, suddenly imbued with the immense weight of a cold case, a potential key to unlocking a decades-old nightmare. The discovery of the rusted lunchbox and its unsettling contents immediately prompted the reopening of the Green twins' cold case. The cracked Polaroid, carefully handled as if it were spun glass, was swiftly transferred to the State Police Forensic Laboratory. This fragile artifact, found after 2 decades of silence, represented not just a new lead, but a desperate, final hope. Its examination became the paramount task for a new generation of investigators, eager to solve the mystery that had haunted Pine Creek Gorge for so long. Leading the forensic examination was Hai-Jin Park, a photo analyst renowned for her meticulous attention to detail and her expertise in extracting information from degraded images. Park understood the immense pressure riding on this single photograph. Her workstation became a crucible where every pixel, every fleck of emulsion, held potential significance. She began by carefully photographing the Polaroid under various lighting conditions, using specialized filters to enhance faded colors and clarify obscured details. The image itself was a puzzle of disturbing elements. The hand-drawn mural dominated one section of the photo. Park meticulously analyzed its crude lines and primary colors, noting the distinct style, which appeared to be either a child's drawing or an adult's deliberate attempt to mimic one. Was it a specific location? A symbolic message? Its subject matter, though partially obscured, seemed abstract, yet contained recurring shapes that suggested a pattern. The challenge lay in identifying any unique characteristics that could link it to a specific place or individual. Even the type of surface it was drawn upon, plaster, wood, or something else, was scrutinized for microscopic clues. Even more disturbing was the taped wrist. Park zoomed in on this detail, noting the width and texture of the adhesive tape. It was dark industry, algrayed and wrapped tightly, indicating not a makeshift bandage, but a deliberate binding. The skin beneath appeared slightly distended, suggesting pressure. She analyzed the tape's residue, hoping to identify its brand or composition, a task complicated by 2 decades of environmental exposure. The question loomed: was this an injury being treated or a person being restrained? The latter possibility sent a chill through the investigative team. Dating the photograph was another critical step. While Polaroids offered immediate results, their chemical composition could provide clues about their manufacturing period. Park utilized spectrographic analysis to determine the age of the photographic dyes and paper, aiming to confirm if the photo truly originated from the time of the twins' disappearance or sometime later. The hope was that the image depicted Marisol and her sister, or at least provided a window into their fate. Hyjin Park, in her measured reports, highlighted the extreme challenges of working with such an old, damaged piece of evidence. Yet she also emphasized the possibilities. Every microscopic fiber, every dust particle embedded in the emulsion, every paint fleck, could be a silent witness. The early leads emerging from her analysis were tentative, focusing on the unique characteristics of the mural and the type of tape. These initial findings, however, began to guide investigators away from the vast wilderness of Pine Creek Gorge and towards a more specific, man-made environment. The new team, armed with this single, enigmatic photo, now faced the daunting task of unraveling its secrets, a quest that promised to redefine the scope of the 2-decade-old mystery. Hyjin Park's meticulous examination of the cracked Polaroid continued, a painstaking process that demanded both scientific rigor and an almost intuitive understanding of the image's silent language. Under high magnification, her sophisticated equipment revealed a detail previously overlooked by the naked eye: microscopic flecks of paint embedded in the emulsion of the photograph, particularly near the edges of the hand-drawn mural. These were not random dust particles. Their composition and hue suggested a specific type of paint. Park carefully isolated and analyzed these minute fragments. The breakthrough came when forensic chemists cross-referenced the unique chemical signature of these paint flecks against a database of known paints used in public infrastructure within Pine Creek Gorge. The results provided a startling match. The paint was identical to a specific batch used in the renovation of a closed campground bathhouse located less than a mile from the Barber Rock overlook. This was a critical pivot point, shifting the investigation's focus from the vast, open wilderness to a specific man-made structure. Investigators immediately contacted Owen Brubaker, the park maintenance lead, whose institutional memory stretched back decades. Brubaker confirmed the bathhouse had undergone a significant renovation in the early 1990s, just prior to the twins' disappearance, a project managed by a local contractor. His recollection, though hazy on specific details, prompted a deep dive into archived park records. Detectives spent days sifting through dusty files, eventually unearthing demolition permits and contractor logs from that period. These documents, mundane on their surface, held a crucial, hidden truth. Among the blueprints and work orders, there was mention of a temporary storage area created during the renovation. This was not a publicly accessible space, but rather a hidden crawl space beneath the main structure, used by the contractors to store tools and materials away from public view. It was a space designed for temporary utility, easily concealed and forgotten once the work was complete. The significance of this discovery resonated deeply. A hidden, non-public space, its existence known only through obscure records, now linked directly to the paint flecks on the cryptic Polaroid. Retired Deputy Leela Forsyth, who had been among the first responders in 1995, was consulted. While she had no direct knowledge of the crawl space, the mention of the old bathhouse immediately triggered her memory. She recalled it being somewhat isolated, often overlooked by park visitors due to its then disused status, a detail that now took on a chilling new meaning. The revelation of this hidden crawl space, a potential site of clandestine activity, dramatically refocused the investigation, suggesting not a lost child scenario, but a deliberate act of confinement, possibly within the very heart of the park. Access to the hidden crawl space beneath the old campground bathhouse was granted, and a specialized team, including forensic experts and local law enforcement, converged on the site. The entrance, cleverly concealed behind a removable panel in what appeared to be a utility closet, was carefully opened. Inside, the air hung still and heavy, thick with the scent of damp earth and decay, a space undisturbed for decades. Powerful lights cut through the oppressive darkness, revealing a small, confined area, barely large enough for an adult to navigate. The contents of the crawl space confirmed the investigators' darkest fears. On one of the rough concrete walls, the unmistakable hand-drawn mural, its primary colors faded but still discernible, was identical to the one captured in the Polaroid. Scattered nearby were remnants of children's items: a small, worn blanket, a few faded coloring books, and a plastic cup. Most chillingly, forensic examination confirmed human remains, tragically identified through dental records and DNA as Marisol Green and her twin sister. The discovery provided irrefutable evidence of their fate. The taped wrist from the Polaroid now made agonizing, horrifying sense. It was not a fleeting moment, but a chilling testament to their captivity. Armed with a definitive location and physical evidence, the investigation swiftly narrowed its focus. Contractor logs from the 1990s renovation were re-examined, highlighting specific individuals who had access to the bathhouse and the hidden crawl space. One name, Thomas Vance, a transient laborer with no fixed address who had disappeared shortly after the renovation, emerged as the prime suspect. Further inquiry revealed a history of predatory behavior and a pattern of vanishing from jobs. Vance was eventually located living under an assumed identity in a remote part of Oregon, apprehended, and charged with 2 counts of kidnapping and murder. The motive, though never fully articulated by Vance, appeared to stem from a disturbed impulse to control and possess, finding vulnerable targets in the isolated setting of the park. The mural and the items were designed to create a false sense of comfort in their confined prison. The legal proceedings that followed were arduous, but the overwhelming forensic evidence, coupled with Vance's eventual confession, led to a conviction. Justice, delayed by 21 years, was finally served. For the Green family, the resolution was a complex tapestry of relief and renewed sorrow. The answers they had desperately sought for decades finally arrived, ending the agonizing uncertainty. Yet the confirmation of their daughters' deaths and the horrific circumstances reopened wounds that had never truly healed. They now had a place to mourn, a tangible truth to confront, but the pain of their loss remained profound. The case of the Green twins became a landmark in cold case investigations, underscoring the enduring power of forensic science and the relentless dedication of investigators. It highlighted how a single, seemingly insignificant clue, a cracked Polaroid tucked away for decades, could unravel a profound mystery. Pine Creek Gorge, while still a place of natural beauty, forever carried the memory of that summer day in 1995, a stark reminder of the hidden darkness that can sometimes lurk beneath the surface of even the most serene landscapes. The story served as a testament to the persistent quest for truth, demonstrating that even after 21 years, the voices of the lost can ultimately be heard.